Hey guys, it's Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I am back with another review of just a TV show. Or a movie. In this case, it is a TV show. It has been a while since I've actually reviewed anything that wasn't a Black Series or just action figure. But it's never really been a thing that I did on my channel. I've done it for a few things, but it's mostly just something I do occasionally. And the new season of Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy came out, and I decided that it was something that was worth me reviewing, even though I hardly ever review anything on my channel. So today I am here to give to you my thoughts as a review of Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy Pieces of the Past. And keep in mind, there are spoilers in this video for both this one and the original. If you haven't seen either of those, go watch them, and then you can come back here. But I will not be held accountable for why you had these spoiled to you. But anyway, with all that out of the way, this show is kind of hard to review in that it's not your average show. So what I've done is I've kind of broken it off into segments, I guess. Like usually I just review by episode, but that's not something I can do here. So I guess at first I'm just going to talk about some things I liked. Then I'm going to go through the characters, and then at the end, I'll go over my final thoughts and maybe a few things that I didn't like. Because, like I just said, this is a hard show to review. But anyway, so some of my initial thoughts, like just things I want to get right out of the way. I actually really like how this follows up from the original. It recaps the original and it adds on to things that were set up in the original. But the thing I like the most, and this is a major way of how it improves on the original, is that the original never felt like a show. It felt like a short movie that was split into fourths. With Rebuild the Galaxy Pieces of the Past, they actually feel like episodes of a TV show. And so that is one major thing that I love that they did with this season of the show. I really like how in this they add on to all of the characters and just this world that they have established outside of the normal Star Wars galaxy. I really like that. I really like how they add on to Dev and Sig's relationship, because that is the heart and emotional core that was in the original Rebuild the Galaxy. I like how this adds on to characters that we've met from the original galaxy that have been changed and are now in the new galaxy. I like how it adds on to the ones we met in the first season, and yet at the same time establishes new funny versions of the characters we know and love. And one major thing, I love how they add in different styles of Lego, because there's more than just minifigs and sets. There are brickheads like you have with Ahsoka in this show. There are buildable figures like we get with Chewbacca, K2SO. And they just keep adding on all these amazing things. There's new cool vehicles like the Force Burner, the BB Wing, which is BB-8 turned into a B-Wing. There are creative things that make no sense, like the Porgil, but they are hysterical, and as such, I love them for that. Like, I really like what Rebuild the Galaxy does, of that it's its own heartfelt little thing that could never be done in any other way, and it's kind of Star Wars' Flashpoint, but for kids. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I've watched all of the Lego Star Wars things. I've watched Droid Tales, I've watched the Freemaker Adventures, those shorts they did, and just the holiday specials. I've watched all of them, so there is nothing wrong with that. I just really like this new galaxy and everything they've added onto it. And the humor in this show is really funny. Like the Lego Star Wars I guess subgenre of Star Wars has always been really funny, of how they can make meta jokes or just jokes in general. And this show is no exception. But I think I've talked enough about that. Now I would really like to get into the characters. And starting off, I obviously have to start with Sig. So, in season one, Sig is a character who is kind of unique in his hero's journey. They kind of reinvent it, but it's also similar things have been done before. So basically, Sig is a kid who loves to tell stories about his galaxy because he's in the Star Wars galaxy. If I was in the Star Wars galaxy, I would be the exact same way. I would literally just be Sig. But anyway, so Sig, he just wants to do his job and live his life. He's a simple nerf herder, and he just wants to do that. He wants to do nothing else. He even has the Force, and yet he still just doesn't want to get out there and do anything in the galaxy. His brother Dev is always telling him, "You have so much potential, and we could leave this planet," but Sig just wants to do that. However, then when he removes the cornerstone, he is forced into becoming a hero, and he realizes that he actually wants to be a hero because he's the one who messed up and wants to save his galaxy. But then he realizes he can't save his galaxy. And there's a lot of great elements from the original that they add on to in this new one. Like, you can really tell that Sig is becoming a hero. Because in the original, it was more of he didn't want to be a hero, but here he actually wants to be a hero and become a Jedi. And I think that's really cool. I love what they do with his relationship with Dev. That was the most emotional part of the original, and they really add on to it. Side note here, I like his design. I do kind of prefer his original, but I do really like his design in here. I actually think it's a great idea to give him a new design because the original design was just his farmer clothing. And I like that he gets his own lightsaber, even though Jedi Bob basically gave him his. So yeah, I really like what they do with Sig. Gaten Matarazzo does an amazing job with Sig. Like, seriously, he's an amazing character. And I really like how they kind of reinvented the hero's journey with him in a creative way. But yeah, I think I've talked about Sig enough, and it's probably not even going to be the last time I talk about him. Moving on, we have Dev. Dev was probably my favorite character from the original. If not him, then it was Sig. It's kind of a close call between the two of them. Dev is an amazing villain in the original. Seriously, he's one of the best villains they've made, and they've made a lot of villains. But seriously, Dev is amazing. I love how his relationship with Sig is there, and he just wants to be this pure evil force who is terrifying as far as a Lego show goes. And Dev is just really powerful too, yet there is still emotion in him once he meets Sig, because he's been alone his whole life, and now he meets someone who's telling him that you've always been part of my life. And I just really like how this whole story is kind of a redemption for Dev, and I really like it because Dev is actually trying to redeem himself. He doesn't want to admit it, but he is trying to become a better person because he likes who he is when he's around Sig. And he sums it up best in this show, actually, of where he says, "As much as I want to push you away, you always come back to me, Sig. And I have to love you." It's like that. And I really like that because it's a great brotherly bond in this show. And it's where all the heart comes from in this show. After Dev, I would like to speak about Jedi Barbarian A-Fold, or as he is more commonly known, Jedi Bob. So Season 1 took a meme character from an old Attack of the Clones Lego set and turned him into the most tragic character in all of Star Wars, in that he accidentally erased his galaxy from existence. Yet he is still the comedic relief character, and he is a very funny Jedi Master. I like how he's trying to train Sig, but at the same time, him refusing to allow Dev to change is what's keeping Dev from actually changing. And Jedi Bob doesn't realize that Dev is trying to redeem himself, but Jedi Bob is basically not letting him be redeemed. And then when he accepts that and decides that Dev is actually a good person and that Jedi Bob was wrong, it's an amazing moment. And Jedi Bob accounts for his mistakes at the end of this show by deciding to train Dev and Sig. And I just really like him. He's funny, he's insanely tragic as far as a Lego show goes, and just he has a nice arc in this show. Yessie is the other main character from this show. If you're wondering why I'm using a picture from Season 1, it's because for some reason it was hard to get a picture from Season 2. Now, Yessie's probably my least favorite of the original characters for this show, And that's not a bad thing. I still actually really like Yessie. I like her hot-headed spirit and how she leads to some funny moments in the show and she just is ready to take on everything. I really like that. And in season 2, she kind of has an arc of her becoming a leader of from instead of just a pilot to a leader. And I do like the arc. However, it kind of seemed like from the beginning they were setting it up as a she would calm down and be less hot-headed. Not that she would need to stop entirely, but that she would sometimes know that you don't always have to rush into everything. However, instead they were actually giving her an arc of being a leader, and it may have just been a me thing, but it felt like they were trying to set up the one arc, but instead they were doing the other. And I don't know. I do like her arc that she gets. I just feel like it was aiming in a different direction, although I do feel like that might have copied her arc from season 1. I still think Yessie is a great character and a great addition to the, I guess, main characters of Rebuild the Galaxy who aren't from the Star Wars galaxy. And yeah, I actually really like her as the leader in the end when she has to step up and take Leia's place. It's really good. I like how she's still piloting the Dark Falcon, and I really like Yessie as a character. Okay, here we get to the funniest character in this show, Servo. Servo is hysterical, and I mean that in the best way. There are like 2 jokes in the entirety of this season that he has that I didn't laugh at. Servo is that funny, okay? He is a gonk droid that speaks and is just very comedic. I really like Servo. He's very funny. But one thing that I like the most about him is how in both the original season and in this season, Servo gets a moment where the jokes just pause and he becomes serious. And that's when the show actually becomes serious too, like really serious. In the original, it's being when he sacrifices himself to save Sig from the lightning. In this, it's when he actually tells Dev how Sig isn't the only one that misses him. Servo misses Dev too. And I really like that. But other than that, he's a funny character. I don't really have that much else to say. I do really like his design, though. I guess that's something I could say about him. Okay, here we get to the new character that this show has made up, the villain, Solidus. And I gotta say something about Solidus. I really like how we actually just get a villain who's just a villain. Like, there is no redeeming him. He's just evil for the sake of he wants to be evil. They do give him a little bit of empathy in that he's been trapped in, I forget what it's called, but he's been trapped in the trash pit of the galaxy. Whenever a galaxy is erased, there are parts of it that stay behind. And he is kind of sent there, and he's been stuck there for so long, and how he feels that Jedi Bob has betrayed him because Jedi Bob had to betray his master. His master was turning evil. And I really like Solidus. I like how he is just a force to be reckoned with in this show. The only character who actually manages to even hurt him outside of Sig, Dev, and Jedi Bob is Darth or I guess, well, he's no longer Darth, but I guess Jedi Palpatine. He is the only character, like they show Solidus taking on waves of Jedi, Rebels, all of them. And nobody was ever able to land a single hit on him except Jedi Palpatine, who then falls after he takes on Solidus. So I really like how he is just a force to be reckoned with. He's got a little emotion to him that makes you feel bad for him, but in the end, it's his own fault that he's turned evil. And he still is given a chance to turn back, but he refuses to take it, and that's what leads to his own downfall. Also, I really love the fact that he gets 2 lightsabers that are hooked together on a chain, and they're both purple. That's pretty cool, in my opinion, at least. Now I would like to get into the new characters, or just characters that are from the Star Wars galaxy that aren't original to this show. And the main one in this season, at least, is Brickhead Ahsoka. So Brickhead Ahsoka is kind of just like Jedi Bob in that they took someone and turned them into one of the most tragic characters, in that you find out Brickhead Ahsoka is the only survivor from her galaxy. her galaxy has been erased and she is living in, I'm just going to call it the Void because that's what it reminds me of, the Void from Loki and Deadpool and Wolverine. So she is living in there trying to keep the other survivors in this void safe because she feels like she's failed her galaxy. It's great to see Ashley Eckenston back as Ahsoka and voicing her. She does an amazing job in this, like she always does. And I just really like Brickhead Ahsoka. There are some funny jokes they do with her. She has her cool moments. And it's just awesome to see Ahsoka Tano. Plus, they introduced Brickheads into this in a really cool, creative way because Ahsoka won the vote that LEGO did of who should get the next Brickhead. I know everybody wanted it to be just Jar Jar in general, but I'm glad it was Ahsoka. So, yes, Brickhead Ahsoka, I love what they do with her. It's a really creative way of using Ahsoka Tano in this show. And I like how at the end, when we actually do see that Ezra, Sabine, and Hera as Brickheads have also survived, and Ahsoka gets a happy moment. Unlike Jedi Bob, who unfortunately does not. He erased his whole galaxy. Moving on, we have the character that was set up at the end of Season 1, and that is the Lando Lorian. Now, he does a lot in the first episode, but after that he kind of just disappears from the show. And I'm honestly okay with that because he's cool and fun and just funny in what little we get of him. And it's just really cool and creative to see them combine Lando and Din Djarin into one character. I wonder what they would actually do with Din Djarin when they inevitably do add him to this galaxy. Like, is he just going to be some guy who's not a Mandalorian now? Because Lando is in his armor and taking care of Grogu. I also love the fact that they made his ship be a mix of the Razor Crest and the N1, because both of those ships are awesome, and as such, combining them makes an even awesomer ship. But yeah, the Landalorian, I really like what they do with him in this show, and I like when he comes back as kind of a good guy, because at the beginning, he's kind of an antagonist villain who is sent to capture Sig and Jedi Bob. But it's pretty cool what they do with the Landalorian. Pirate Padme. Now, this is a character that I've wanted to talk about the most in this entire video, because even before the trailer or Pieces of the Past was confirmed, when I was watching the original, or I guess rewatching one day, I thought to myself, it just randomly clicked in my head, what if when they do Padme, instead of being the peace-loving character that she is just some guns-blazing, war-loving maniac? They didn't actually do that, but what they did was close enough, and I really like what they do with Pirate Padme in this show. It's really cool to see Padme show up, because we got Vader, Luke, Leia, and Han, and so it's nice to see them finish the Skywalker family. We also had 3PO in the original, and in this time we get added Padme and R2, so it's just really nice to see her. I like her relationship with Jedi Vader. It's very funny. She has some of the funniest moments in this show. For example, the joke of just the Snoke pit. That's all I have to say. I was dying of laughter to the point I had to pause the show from the Snoke pit. The other funniest joke, I think, in the show is when they're running through the battle ball and it's literally just the UCS Death Star set. And I think that is hilarious. So I really do like what they do with Pirate Padme. I like her relationship with Jedi Vader. And I just like them adding more characters in a creative twist into this show. Beach Luke. Now, Beach Luke was kind of the main character of the Star Wars main galaxy who have been changed up, in that Luke Skywalker is no longer the greatest hero ever. He's just some beach bum who cheats races to win money. And he's kind of the character who wants to change into this amazing hero that he's heard about from Sig in the original. In this season, he doesn't do much. He still does some things, but it's definitely a step down from what he had in the original. I still really like him. He has some very funny moments in this season, and I do really like what they do with him. It's just very clear that they did a lot less with Luke. However, Mark Hamill still doing an amazing job as Luke. I'm very glad he was in this. And I don't even think I would have needed more of Luke in this season because what they do with him is enough. It's just I don't know, it feels kind of strange with having less of Luke Skywalker in this season. Okay, up next I have the deep cut character himself, Jackson. Now, I'll be honest with you, I am a massive Star Wars fan, but I only knew who Jackson was because he had a Black Series and comic books around him. So when I actually saw they were adding him into this, I was even more excited because I had no connection to Jackson until now. If they ever bring him back in anything, I don't care what it is, they need to bring back Ben Schwartz so that this is the canon version of Jackson in the main Star Wars timeline. He is amazing here. I love all the jokes they give him and how he's always twitching. I just really like what they do with Jackson. Ben Schwartz is very funny voicing him. It's just really great to see such a deep cut show up in this show. Okay, up next we have a character that for some reason I couldn't get any pictures of him from the show, so I just have to go with his actual Lego set, and that is the giant Chewbacca. Chewbacca is my favorite Star Wars character. I know it's very misleading because Thrawn is who I named my channel after, but Chewie is my favorite Star Wars character, and I love the fact that we get a giant Chewbacca buildable figure in this set in this show. It is amazing. He is awesome in all of the fight scenes. He has some very funny moments. I don't need to say anything else other than that he is just very cool, and I am so glad they added him to this show. Darth Revan. Now, this one is so funny to me that out of every chance Disney has ever had to introduce Darth Revan in some way since they bought Lucasfilm. There was a deleted scene for Clone Wars Season 6 of Yoda talking to Darth Revan. They haven't done anything involving him. So the very first thing they decide to use Darth Revan in is a Lego Star Wars show. Now that has balls, and you know that offends the Knights of the Old Republic fans. I don't care. It is so funny to me that this is what we first get Darth Revan introduced in. And it's not even canon. Revan is really awesome in here, however, he doesn't do much. He's basically just muscle for Solidus that fights in the void against Sig, Dev, and Servo. But it doesn't matter, because he's still awesome. Also, Darth Kenobi is a thing, but I'm not even going to talk about him, because he barely does anything. He is funny, though, so, to Darth Revan and Darth Kenobi, goodbye there. Okay, up next, we have one of my favorites that they introduced in this season, Pirate R2-D2, in that he is literally just R2-D2, but they turned him into Chopper. So if they ever add Chopper into this show, I need them to make him just wholesome, or at the very least, like R2, in that he can have a few moments, but I just am begging that if they ever add Chopper, he needs to just be some, hello there, I love peace kind of character. That would be hysterical, because in this show, Chopper isn't in it, but R2 is, and they basically just turned R2 into Chopper. Like, seriously, he is blowing everyone up. He is just killing everyone, and it's amazing to see R2-D2 do that. Also, I love the details of that he has a wooden leg and an eye patch over his one eye. That's very funny. Okay, we're approaching the end of characters here, and as far as they go, this is kind of an important one that I grouped a bunch of characters together, and it is the Sith in this show. So in season 1, there were multiple Sith. They all obeyed Darth Devastator, and when Darth Devastator kind of betrays them in a way, they decide to go out on their own. They're set up to be the main villains of this season. However, instead, they're kind of more of just the side villains. They're still very entertaining. I like what they do in that they actually have to team up with the good guys to help save the galaxy so that there is a galaxy they could conquer. That's really cool. And I just love that Kit Fisto is a Sith. Rose is a Sith, Jyn Erso is a Sith, Nubs is a Sith, there's a random Ithorian guy who's a Sith. It's just really cool. The main one of them is Darth Rey, and I do really like how she is in charge of these Sith, and it's kind of her idea for them to join forces with the good guys, and I just really like what they do with the Sith. If you're wondering why there is one particular Sith that I'm leaving out, that's because he gets his own segment where I talk about him. And speaking of that, I think it's about time for us to discuss the ultimate character from this show, Darth Jar Jar. It amazes me that we got Darth Jar Jar before GTA 6, and I'm not even excited for GTA 6. I'm just so excited that we got Darth Jar Jar back in Season 1. He was hysterical there, he's hysterical here, and this time they gave him spider legs from like the ones Darth Maul wears. And that's just funny, okay? He doesn't do as much as he does in the original season, and he barely even does anything in the original season, but I just love that they brought Darth Jar Jar back. He is just such a funny character, and I'm so glad they added him into this show, because without this show, we never would have got Darth Jar Jar. Let's be real here. So, yeah, I think that's all of the characters that I should be covering. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm wrong. There are even more characters that I should be covering, but I don't have time to cover them all because this video is that long already, and I'm already approaching the time for a whole episode of this show. So there are more characters like Leia, Greedo, Jedi Palpatine. I just don't have time to discuss them all because there are so many. But anyway, on to my final thoughts about this show. I really liked this season. I hope they continue Rebuild the Galaxy. It's such a good show. It's obviously not going to be peak Star Wars, but from a certain point of view, it kind of is peak Star Wars. I don't have that many issues with the show. If I had to have some, I guess the biggest issue I have with it is that, and this is kind of an issue of that there's no way around it, the fact that Leia and Han will never end up together kind of bums me out because I want to see Leia and Han end up together. But in this galaxy, Leia is marrying Greedo, and Han is a traitor who sold them out in Season 1. So it's kind of impossible for them to do that. It just hurts when you see that there's a way for Palpatine and Vader to end up together, for Luke and Leia to still find each other and be a family with their parents, for all of these things, like R2-D2 and C-3PO are still best friends. It's just very sad when you see all these things happen, and then you know that Han and Leia will never happen. And then the only other issue I have with this season, it was kind of like you can see in the background, the Bad Batch were in the trailer, and all they do in this season is be in the background as filler characters, which kind of hurts because they could have done something original in that each Bad Batch is now like completely different because clones are Admiral Akbar. So even if they would have just shown them all to be defective versions of Admiral Akbar, that would have been funny. But I get it. You need characters to fill the background like Neil from Skeleton Crew. And honestly, it's not even that big of an issue because they are there in the background and it's just nice to see the Bad Batch. But maybe we'll see more of them in the next one if they make more of these. Please, Disney, make more of these because the Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy movie shows are amazing. They're so much fun, and I hope we get more of them. But if this is the finale, it ends on a good enough point because they kind of wrap up everything. So they would need to create a new story unless they just use Darth Rey and the other Sith as the villains, which I'd be fine with, but as long as it's good, keep making these. I'm begging you. They're so much fun. I just really like Rebuild the Galaxy, and Pieces of the Past was an amazing sequel. This is Grand Admiral Thrawn signing off, and I look forward to our next encounter in my next video.